Okay, folks, good morning. Happy Sunday. Let's pick up some of this stuff up while we're thinking about it. I've got things all strewn about. Or at least move them out of the way, because these are things that I'm going to need here shortly. And then we'll go back to working on our Stewarts from Plastic Soldier Company. Plastic Soldier Company Stewarts. Filthy glasses. Okay. So what do we got left to do on them other than weather them? Obviously mount them on base. These are so heavy. The white metal vehicles are so heavy. Let me see if I can do this. I should be able to increase. If I increase the size of this window, can I make this bigger slide? No, I'm still going to have to put on glasses to see if you guys write anything on. Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is Bruce, the last one we were working on. Now, I suspect this is the radio antenna. So let me just do a check on that. Because if so, I'm going to go ahead and drill that out. M5A1. Hell, it might have more than one radio antenna. Well, there it is in the back. Show me images. Okay, this one shows it all the way back here. But this is an M3A1, has it all the way in the back of the tank. You know, I'm not a fan of bolt action stuff or Flames of War. I'm going to mention those two companies because they both do World War II products. I don't really like the scales that they do stuff in, or sometimes how they handle their business as far as changing rules and stuff. But both of them have some great stuff promoting their game system and pictures. I mean, they really do a good job of, here's an article, M1340 versus Stewart. I mean, some real inspirational pictures. So they've got some artists that are really talented doing stuff for them. And I can't speak for the Warlord Games website because I haven't really been on there. But I can tell you that the Flames of War website's wonderful. I don't play Flames of War stuff. And that's why I don't play it. It's not for me. If you enjoy it, that's cool. It's just not my cup of tea. On the M5A1, that's where the radio is. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that out now. because I've got this wire I'm looking at, and I'm like, I was just thinking to myself, I haven't put on an antenna in a long time, and honestly, some of these things are just, it's too difficult to drill out a die cast metal thing to put an antenna on it. All right, I need to grab this in a way that I'm not going to scuff up the great job that it turned out. And you know, if you play one of those things that I don't like, you know, I'm not poo-pooing you. It's just that it's just not. The games are too basic for me. You know, they're more I would call them introductory games, or maybe for people who don't have a lot of time to spend on the game, like DBA. You know, DBA is. I don't think it's a very simple game. I would call it introductory because maybe somebody that is just marginally interested. Boy, I gotta sand this down so that goes in and out there easier than that. But it is introductory for somebody who like doesn't want to get super involved in ancients and the minutia of it. Even though I would not say it's a beginner game because of the wording and everything. But same thing. I don't want to play Flames of War because it's too basic for what I have in mind. You know, it's like, well, we got to keep it simple to put lots of tanks out there. I said, okay, I'd rather play a game that's more detailed that has 1 or 2 tanks. So why are you painting 12 tanks? I said, well, they're not going to all be at the board at the same time. The same reason a 135th scale modeler keeps building Panzer IVs and he's never going to use them in a game. You know, I just enjoy doing them, you know. More isn't better. Now, I've said it before, it doesn't make any sense to me to add all this detail and intricate painting for this vehicle, and then it spends a moment on the board and you pick it up. Just like Games Workshop stuff. I've never played Games Workshop things, but I know that this stuff is really intricate and expensive, and then the rules are rather basic. I'm like, no, if I'm going to spend that much time working on a miniature, I think it deserves more detail in a game. Does that mean I play with less miniatures? Sure. That's fine. That's a fair trade, you know? And that's just my mentality. It may not apply to what you want to, but if I'm going to have a game that's super basic, then we're just going to spray paint them, you know, and move on. At that point, it's like, why are you even doing that? This is a pretty tight finish. Let's mess with this before we do anything else. Let's get these turrets rotating the correct way. You know, and a lot of those two companies may have a lot of their way they do business is geared towards trying to get some of the fantasy players to play historical stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not my, you know, if they're used to a simpler system, you know, they're not going to come over if your game is super complex. But, oh, this is mucho mejor. Let's do this a little bit. Let's do this a little bit more. I think if I do one more time, should be about right. There we go. Perfect. And we'll do the same thing over here. And you know, I don't really have a problem with people playing whatever it is that they're uncomfortable with. I just don't want to, I'm not interested in converting anyone, and I'm really not interested in being converted. As I frequently get videos like, hey, have you tried this rule set? And that's all fine and well, but yeah, I've looked at it and it's way too basic. If I get around to playing this, I'm either going to like, if nobody else likes to play this, that's cool, they won't play it. But I've played other things that are unsatisfying, detail-wise, although they've been fun for 2 decades. And yeah, I'm going back to my roots of doing what I want to do, you know? You know, and my motivator is not to run games at conventions or really to even play with other people. It's just to, I want it to paint the narrative that I want told. And that may not be everybody's cup of tea. That may not be most people's cup of tea. That's fine. But along the way, we're going to build these fun little things and have fun doing it. This house is so much colder than the other house. And that's a blessing. I don't even have a ceiling fan here. I'm freezing. The other day I came home for lunch because I live very close to work. And it was one of those mornings where it had been probably in the 50s in the morning. And it warmed up to close to 70 outside. And I came home and it was like 62 in the house or something like that. We hadn't turned the air on or the heater or anything. And the guy who built this house, which my wife knows, or he didn't build it, he had it designed, and then he hired somebody to build the house for him. He must have done a really good job with the insulation because it keeps the cold in really, really well. So very happy with that. It saves money, it's good for the environment, and you know, I like being cold, but man, my feet haven't been this cold, I don't think ever. Which is better than having hot feet. I can't handle my feet being hot. It puts me in a bad mood. I hear these horror stories of some of you guys that you have the only area you can paint in. Oh, that one turns nicely. The only area you can paint in is like in the garage or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing that shit no more. Okay, one of these is converted. It's this one. Okay, I believe this is the one that we're going to use as the command one. Yeah, okay. And the M5A1 is this one. Not that it makes a huge difference. That's even better. And then Barney's over here. Barney, Betty, and Bruce. All B Company vehicles. Okay, let's drill out. Let's put the super readers out of the way. Now, super readers, these are like plus 375. I think that's what they are. 325. This is at the time the ones that were the strongest. And this is when I started realizing that my short range vision was failing me. my corrected short range vision, because I am nearsighted. I've been nearsighted forever, but you know, I did all my painting until like 6 or 7 years ago with contacts in 2020 in corrected 2020 vision, and it wasn't until I started not being able to see up close, which is really weird for somebody who's been nearsighted their whole life. I thought it was like a glare problem first, and then I'm like, oh, well, let me use these readers. Oh, okay. Oh, that happened. And then now I'm like, well, why don't I just paint without glasses on? And I got a built-in plus 6.0. So that's what I do. Although, I think most of these I've just been using regular readers on. But I don't know that it helps me paint any better. It just helps me focus, and I can look at all the little details a lot better. It's a lot more enjoyable to look at. Because whoever sculpted these things, I'm going to call it sculpted, even though they're model kits. It is a stellar job. I am a big fan of Plastic Soldier Company. Do they do everything right? No. I'm sure that there's problems with their stuff, but I am pretty happy. These things are adorable too. Okay, let's get a Monsieur Pinvice out here. And this is about the wire that we're going to put in there. I don't mind it being a little bit bigger so we could get some epoxy in there. So I don't use super glue for anything if I can avoid it. I'm going to take the tip of the X-Acto blade and find the center. So that way when I drill in here, it doesn't walk on me. Tips I've learned by getting screwed. Getting screwed is probably a little too heavy, you know. You're not really, are you really getting screwed if you're able to fix what it is? Nah, not really. That's the other thing. Drilling into plastic is a pleasure. Probably should have done this before I finished putting it together, but you know, just because there's a more efficient way to do things doesn't mean necessarily the way you're doing it is wrong. You know, when I paint, if I'm painting figures, if I'm doing like medievals or something like that, something that's not like a uniform, I'll usually, you know, some people paint outside in, inside out. I paint the colors I know that are going to be. If I've got my mind, okay, this guy's going to have blue pants, go ahead and put the blue pants on. Because it helps you decide what other colors you're going to do. Instead of like trying to cogitate about everything else. Like, okay, we know that the only thing I don't do is the face. I try to do the face last. I don't know why. I could have just as easily done it first. But, I mean, you know what color the face is going to be. For the most part. Generally. Depending on what army you're doing, or it's not really a variable. So I guess paint the constants, get rid of the variables, put the variables off for last. Just helps you have to. I think maybe only once or twice I've ever had to repaint a figure. Been like, man, this isn't how I wanted it to turn out. Okay, this isn't drilling in here very well. I wonder if this is dulled in some way or another. I'm also not pressing really hard on it. Let's take this off. Let's do this. This is relatively soft plastic. How far in did we go? That's not enough to get a good purchase on the antenna. I'm going to switch bits. I shouldn't have to put more pressure on it than I'm already doing it. It's about the same size. Well, yesterday felt like a Sunday, and thankfully it wasn't. Or I'd be doing something this morning I really don't like to do. I have to go to work. It's just not wanting to drill worth a damn. How very strange. All right, let's try this one. This one looks like about the same size. Maybe it was a particularly hard batch of plastic these are in. I don't know. There it is. Now it's pulling out these little bits of the plastic that it wasn't really doing before. I wonder what. Can you dull your own drill bits? I mean, I guess if you're doing a lot of like drilling on white metal. Although I don't think I did. Yep, that's deep enough. All right, there's one. Whatever you do, don't give up. And the plastic wins. What did we do? Damn near center of that? Yeah, pretty much. Is it people that just don't. Sometimes I feel like having a really challenging job makes doing this a lot easier. It's like, this is nothing. This is nothing like, oh, we got some nice little curls. Look at this. I wonder if I get this on the camera. Look, this is pretty amazing. It's like a work of art. The little pieces of plastic, when they came out through here, they almost. I'm wondering if this isn't showing anything. Hold on a second here. It's been awfully long time and looks kind of funny. Let's take a look at this. Nope. Okay. Look at the plastic that's come out of there. I'm gonna take a picture of that. I'm gonna post that on Facebook a little bit later. That's kind of like amazing. I mean, it's useless, but come on. It almost looks like grain. You know, like wheat or something. Crazy. But it wasn't doing that on the first one. So I knew it wasn't displacing the plastic. Okay, that's good. That one worked a lot better. So this is, maybe I need to get new bits on some of them. I have had them a while. Well, you definitely want to put a hole here to kind of somewhere if you're drilling to kind of get the purchase on it. And that's just one thing you can't do with a little pin vise if you're doing like a anything that's die cast metal or even the metal. It's just so hard to deal with. Like for instance, here on these armored cars, their antenna's right here. And I'm just going to forget that it exists because just drilling into that is just punishing. it's punishing to do that unless I'm going to use something that's high speed, and it just isn't worth it, you know. See if I got it right the first time. Let's go a little bit deeper than that. All right. So that part is done. We are going to need to dry brush these guys. And I'd like to do that before I put the before I paint the tools, and before I paint the highlight the gunmetal on the guns. And the only thing that really stinks about these is you've got these clevises. I had to say clevis quickly before I forgot what the name of what they were called. But these clevises that are molded on the front of the tank, you know, the tow hooks basically, and they're the shackles. Shackles is really what it is. You've got this part that attaches to the hull and the shackle that fits over. If you've ever built 1/35th scale models, you've done a lot of those things. Little U-hooks, U-shackles. And when the vehicle's moving down the road, you know, they're just attached to the top, and you can pull them out and you attach a chain to it, you know, if you're going to tow the vehicle. They're just dangling by gravity from the top. You know, these little U-hooks, they're basically like a U. Well, here they are on the front. They're already molded on there nicely. You don't have to worry about putting those on there like you do in most model kits. But the ones on the back are permanently molded upwards. So unless this thing went over a ravine or it hit a really big bump, and that's when they snapped the picture of the back of this, they should be dangling down, not dangling up. So now you won't be able to unsee that. Hey, no kit is perfect, you know. So ultimately, it's not that big of a deal, but. And I'd rather it be that problem on the back than on the rear, because honestly, I could, if it really bugged me a lot, I can come in here with goop and cover that up. You know, where they're just encrusted with, you know, mud or something like that. But I'm not really going to get into that. Okay, we need to put numbers on these things. So let's take a look at a few numbers. All right, I'm gonna grab a pen, and I'm overthinking this stuff, but hey, this is the kind of stuff I enjoy doing. So let's go back to my pictures of M5A1s. I'm going to close all this. M5A1 Stewart. And here's a perfect example why you need to kind of have an idea what you're looking for on the internet before you go looking for it. Just like if you're doing math, you know, you kind of have an idea when you add two things together what kind of a number you're looking for before you just write down whatever the hell's on the calculator, right? Because otherwise, there's some things that can lead you astray. I did a search for M5A1 Stewart. The very first thing that came up is the M3 Stewart from Warlord Games, okay? And yeah, that's the wrong model Stewart, so you got to know what you're looking for. This is just kind of a basic example of, you know, you got to go farther down to see what you're looking at. So let's go look at images. Okay, and I'm going to want to look at some serial number examples. Okay, so this one has 7 digits and it starts with a 304. This one only has 6. So I'm not going to copy these exact serial numbers, but I want to kind of get an idea of what kind of numbers they are. Do they all start with 3? That might be the case. 304. Oh, I'm sorry. 301. 243. Okay, let's look at another one. 308. I mean, they might all start with 30. 308. 9570. 304, 5, 4, 6, 3, 8. No, I got one too many fours. 304, 56, 38 dash S. That's weird. That one has no serial number, but it's not exactly a, okay. 3065089 dash S. Three oh two three 7669. So you see the pattern? They're all 3 zeros. So I think that's significant and worth capturing. That one I can't read what it is. I'm going to bet it's a 3-0. Three zero four 4280. Three zero eight 2911. Okay, so there's your pattern. They all start with 30. Every single M5A1 that I've seen, it's obviously a pattern. They start with 30. So that's what the numbers on all these will start with. Three zero 51254 S. I don't know why there's an S on it. I'm not going to put an S on it, so we're going to scrub the S and we're not going to use 6 digits. And we will create numbers from there. And going in and finding actual numbers, that's a little too much. Okay, that's a bridge too far. You can drown in a rabbit hole. Okay. It's just little things like that you can do to just take things to the next level. And they make a set of decals of the individual numbers, just like this USA is a decal. But I don't want to sit there and manipulate and move 7 numbers into position. They're all individual numbers. And then do it twice. That's doing it 14 times for one tank when I'm dry brushing over it. And then, I will just gonna hand paint them. They're gonna look good enough. They're just gonna get dry brushed over it, and it's gonna give kind of the impression that there's something there. So. All right, Brucey. 3-0. Now, because it's centered on where the USA is, I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start in the middle. I'm going to start off with numbers in the middle. So the middle number is the 4th one. Here I can start on one end. I could just do them backwards. Let me just do them backwards to start from this end. I'm going to use this same number, and I'm just going to change one number. So I'm going to come up here and do a little highlight. Okay, and it won't be the 3 and the 0 that I'm going to change. I like the ones. Ones are real easy to do. And this is the stuff probably somebody would hate. This is the stuff I like doing the most. Because I feel like this is something I'm relatively good at. 7. Two. And last two numbers have to be 0 and a 3. Jesus Christ. I need to quit my day job. I still, it's all it's not that hard. It really isn't. You just have to find a brush that's tip is going to hold the flow aid, and then you just got to get everything just to look at this. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can make sure I'm showing you guys. That's the other reason I do this. So you guys can be inspired and do this kind of crap. Let's see. Where's the number? Let's get some more light on here. And let me put my finger here so I can find where it is. I'll put a picture on Facebook for those of you guys that are on Facebook. That's the best numbering I've ever done. Wow. That's so good. I think I'm going to seal over it and then dry brush. I don't like how the dry brush turns off. Wow. Not my first rodeo. And like I said, the main thing is you got to get the spacing right. So if it means you have to break down whatever it is you're writing into basic forms, verticals. Get all the verticals of the letters in the right place so that you don't end up like with a beautiful R and a beautiful B, a beautiful R, and then you have a U that's too big. You don't want to go through all that extra work. So. A lot of the British tanks in the desert have names. I'll be hand painting all those. So this one we're going to do it in the traditional order because you don't want to run out of space. If I do it the normal way, I have to kind of gauge where I'm going to be, and if I gauge wrong, then I'm going to be cramping the numbers. So start where you want that last number to be and work this way, 30 means it's a tank. Oh, so the Shermans all start with 30s? Good morning, Kevin. You were a tanker, weren't you? If you were a tanker, tell me what tank you were on. I'm going to guess you were on an M60. Some M60 variant. I did. I just rolled the dice out there. Okay. 3027911. Oh, did I fuck up? No, I did not. I'm sorry. I was thinking, it's got to be an 8. It's got to be 308. Nope. I haven't fucked up yet, but give me a chance. I will. Hey, it's important to screw up, but so you can realize how to fix your mistakes. And you got to get the right amount of paint. I'm gonna bet this side won't come out as good as the other one. It just, I don't know that I could have. I don't know that I could have hoped for it to come out better than that. Oh, there it is. Not as good as the other side. This side will have more weathering on it. Got a little bit of fluff on there. Let's come back to this 3 and make it a little bit. There we go. That's actually not bad. And you clean up that 2 a tiny little bit with little bits of the OD paint. But other than that, that ain't bad. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. You pick another number and modify it a little bit. What are the US 4s? Are they open or are they closed like a 9? They're closed like a 9, damn it. That's trickier. Hey, Marcus, good morning. How are the 4s? You mean they might be just like this one, closed? It's just kind of tight to do it. Well, fuck it, let's do it. Let's try it and see how we like it. We're going to modify it. We're going to take one of these 4s out of the equation. Interestingly enough, the 0s are actually okay to do. And these are cheap-ass paint brushes. This one happens to be a 20-aught, but that doesn't really matter. What's more important that they're liners. The liners work a lot better than just regular rounds. I'd be fine with liners for everything. The liners just have a lot more bristle than the tip. And it's not scientific. I just go in there and look at it. I'm like, yeah, it looks like it's going to work. You know? Finally back in New York City from Virginia as of yesterday evening. Your hobbying can resume. Oh, I didn't know you were an expatriate. You had gotten away. You got a little taste of freedom in Virginia. You guys got some bad weather up there, didn't you? I don't know if you got it in Virginia, but the white stuff. Did you have to remember how to drive again? I would imagine you probably go through long bouts of not driving. I'm kidding about that. I mean, it's just some things you don't forget. My first car was a stick shift, and then I wasn't allowed, quote unquote allowed, to get a stick shift for like 13 years. And then when I went back 3 years ago to go back to driving a stick shift, thank God. Yeah, it's just, you don't forget how to do that. Correct. You always enjoy getting back to drive a bit. Weather wasn't too bad, but there were a few bad days. So one thing that really surprised me when I went to Canada was the freaking roads are in great shape. I mean, they're really, really good shape. So a couple things. They must spend the money that gets collected to fix the roads to actually fix the roads there. Or they said they don't use salt because the salt attracts the animals. And then they come up to the road to lick it. And then the next thing you know, you got roadkill. And, you've got big animals that can create a lot of damage on a road. I mean, if you hit a deer, your car's screwed anyways. And they got things bigger there than deer and bighorn sheep. You don't want to hit a bighorn sheep. You don't want to kill the animal. You don't want to destroy your vehicle, So they use little bits of gravel. And it's all over the road. They're really small bits of gravel, but you drive over and you hear all the time. And maybe that just keeps the roads from being, consumed. I don't know. But their roads are in really good shape. Did I encounter potholes? Yeah, but not very many. They're better shape than the roads in Canada are in better shape than they are in Florida. We obviously don't. The money we use for roads, we must use it for homeless people, and it doesn't do any good because they're still out there. So I don't know. They must mismanage the money everywhere else. My driving in the Northeast, the roads are pretty bad up there, 8. Okay, so let's end with a 0. And then an 8. Which is 2 small zeros on top of each other. We need a little bit more paint than that. It's going to be awfully transparent. And the part of the problem is the brush gets deformed as it goes, even though it's you always keep having to babysit the brush. Okay, that 4 turned out okay. What are we going to place the 4 with? A 1, a 1, a 1, because it's easy. A 1. Kevin, I think you went back to sleep. Or maybe what you're posting isn't coming in again. You've got like connection issues. I think they're in the past. Not too bad. Clean up that zero a little bit with just a little bit of a dot. So what do we do? 301 4280. Is that a real tank? Yes, it was destroyed in North Africa. Whatever, I can only do so much. If I was building a model of a tank, yeah, but what is it? 301 4280. Okay. Watching on TV. Can't comment on TV. Okay. Hey, Kevin, I'll take you however I can get you. I know you were in the service. Were you a tanker or you just had that specific information of 30 starts with a tank? I had no idea. So Shermans should all start with a 30. No, none of my Shermans have serial numbers on them yet. I don't know if I'll go back and do it. I don't know why I decided to do this on this. Maybe I just felt like I needed a little bit more panache. Sometimes it's like, I'll take the challenge. .301. And this is actually quicker than using individual decals. And then you still have to get them to line up. That's a nightmare. If I was doing a 1/35th scale model, that's one thing. You were a combat engineer, okay. Some of these units have tanks. M60 recovery vehicles, and God, I'm not really up on the modern stuff. I used to be a little bit better, but Gorby, you ruined it all. We used to do modern gaming in the Cold War stuff. There's a board game out there that always looked fascinating to me and that's actually a really good looking board game. It's called Armageddon War. And it's by a company called Devil Pig or Flying Devil Pig or something like that. That type of a name. And it has really big counters. And it supposedly takes place in the Middle East, where else? And in the short term future. So you've got Russian stuff and American stuff and Israeli stuff and a couple of three or four different factions of Arab fundamentalist type of states or whatever. And I think it's individual vehicles and squads and stuff like that. But it's actually a really good vehicle, a really good game. But the problem with modern stuff, or at least my perception of modern stuff, is that you can spot things so far away that you're either going to play something that's really shrunk. And the problem with something really shrunk is then the infantry become not exciting. When you're shrinking something so much that tanks are only shooting a certain number of hexes away. Now infantry are relegated to shoot at 1 or 2 hexes, and it's just like they just get pushed to the side and ends up being a tank fight, And I think everything's important, Everything has a place, and I've played those kind of games before that are tank heavy. And I'm like, okay, that was fun. What about the infantry? Well, we have them, but the rules aren't very good for them. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll look to play something else. But it's a really good looking game. And And there's several plays of it on YouTube. I think the game mechanics weren't anything that like made me like jump up and down and asking for more. But I've never done any modern vehicles. The most modern is I did have some Israelis and Egyptians for the '73 war. I had some Centurions and Super Shermans and T-54s and T-62s. I think that's as far as I got. Not too bad. Not too bad for old Betty. We're going to make the Betty stand out a little bit more. I just kind of like lightly sketched it yesterday. Wikipedia has a list of prefix numbers used. They identify a type of vehicle. There is 0 through 9 and 100 through... Oh, there you go. I like Wikipedia. People say, oh, there's a lot of misinformation on there. Well, maybe if you're looking up current events or politics or something like that. Stuff that can be skewed, but I'm not interested in any of that shit, so... I've found Wikipedia really useful and an incredible rabbit hole. Because then you're like, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? And next thing you know, you're surfing a bunch of different pages and collecting all kinds of information that isn't very interesting other than to people like us. The public are like, why are you interested in that? Because it's cool to learn. It's cool to read. I just don't want to read about anything that was assigned to me in school. I've always liked to read. Exercising your brain. I don't want to read Charles Dickens. Fuck that noise. I'd rather, more interesting stuff than that. Okay. And Barney is the last one. B12. Vitamin Barney. Check on one thing. These guys got 45 minutes to get here. That's fine. I'm not stopping in 45 minutes. I'm not expecting to. Oh, it says it is. We'll see. I'll be surprised if it gets here today. Okay. Oh, I wanted to report something I ordered the other day while I was live. So I'm almost out of this. I mean, I probably should throw this away. There's that little. Hey, Mr. Ben. I'm almost out of this stuff. I mean, there's just sealed for your protection. What, so it doesn't jump in my mouth? Come on, man. It's non-toxic. And I bought this, and they've changed the labeling on it. Now it looks like this. And it's the same code and everything. Let's see if they change what it looks like. I hope this is sealed for my protection. Oh, thank God. But, you know, it's hardly glued down. So if it was a safety problem. Okay, smells the same too. I swear, I think safety labels are the problem. Everything went to shit when you start putting safety labels. Don't put your whole head in front of the shotgun. You know, how about teach your kids better? The prefix was used for breech weight bearing. Oh, well, I don't know if that's a correlation because, like, to give you an example, all these armored cars, I believe, started with a 6. That's what I found. But they all have a 7 weight scale on them. I don't know. Maybe there's... I don't know. We'll see. The UVA labels are really childish. Man, you're. If anybody accuses you of being a dumbass, let me know. I'm going to go over there and slap them. You're wise as shit. Absolutely. Absolutely really childish. It's kind of like that last version of Windows. Whatever Windows, when it came out, Windows 7 or 8, it's like Windows for dummies. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, oh, big, what, you couldn't read this? I'm a fan of, what's it called? Arial Narrow. And a lot of their stuff is written kind of in Arial Narrow-ish. And this is childish, yeah, I agree. Stupid font. I can't take you seriously. Or some of that earth texture, love it. Have I seen the pic of the SDKFZ 231 dressed up as a battleship? No. But I'm about to. It better have the right turrets on it. That's all I'm saying. SDKFZ 231 battleship. No, but feel free to send it to me. So, speaking of this vehicle, one thing I always hated about this vehicle, and I built a 1/35th scale model of it, and when you're working on a part in 1/35th scale, that is Tamiya, which is they're highly quality kits. I'm sure there's better stuff now, but when you have a problem with the way something gets assembled, you know it's a problem on the real vehicle. And this is the part I'm gonna show it to you. Remind me by looking at the front of it. If you look at you just sent me something probably. Yep. Let's see. Let me finish this thought and then I'll show you. If you look at the front of this 20 millimeter turret, and by the way, I love having only the one camera better because I'm really good at doing this. I'm really shitty at like popping things out. I could get better at it, but then I'm gonna get less painting done. And I'm a painting guy, not a video guy. Sorry. But this plate that's on the front of the turret, when you build this model in 1/35th scale, it is a royal bitch to get it in the right place because it's almost kind of like this opening for like a bunker. And this plate sits in that the 20 millimeter cannon goes through, but it sits inside of it and it kind of like flexes a little bit. And it's impossible to get it in the right place. That just reminded me, that is just a royal bitch. Those bastards should deserve to lose the war just based on that. It's a good thing they lost the war. They had some cool equipment. There's no doubt about that, but And speaking of 231s, they look weird unless they're all gray. A 231 in like yellow just looks strange. All right, let's see what you sent me. Da-da-da-da. Oh my God. Yep, there it is. It has that stupid front plate thing. Oh, it's not coming up on my phone. It's on Naval Historia. I'm pretty sure I'm a member of Naval Historia. Let me make sure. I love naval shit. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to be. I guess this is what you would call a land battleship. Literally. How strange. I bet it ran like shit too. Armored cars are supposed to be 60. Well, all mine are 60. Wow. So I don't understand why companies need to reinvent shit. Like, we're not selling enough of these. Let's redo the label. Really? I also don't understand why this isn't made anymore. Oh, because it wasn't a sustainable material. Folks, we're not killing the earth by making these little things. Okay? Okay. So this one's also another 3-0 code. Yeah, so that weight code number, I don't know what it is on the Stewarts. I know on the Shermans it's a 30, and it has to do with tonnage. So, which is, I think Shermans are actually like 32-ton vehicles, but they have a 30 on them for whatever reason. So, yeah, but I love doing this stuff. So when I do my Brits in the desert, and yeah, they're coming at some point. Spoiler alert, I ordered something from, I got a vehicle that I need to find. Fuck it, I'm going to spill the beans. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. So one of the things that I want in one of my scenario books for the desert is A13s, and not just regular A13s because S model makes A13s, but the A13 that's the Mark IV. So the A13 kind of had the British cruiser tank, really had like a slab-sided turret like the A9s and the A10s, and towards the end, they ended up, if you look at the profile of it, it looks like it's got almost like a diamond shape to it. And those were the ones that were used in the desert. They may have had some of the other ones as well, but the prolific one is the one in the desert. Well, the only way to get a model of one of those is get it 3D printed, buy an old white metal kit of one, buy one from, not MMS, Millicast, which... They've got bubbles and they're 176 scale, and I prefer not to get 176. I prefer 172nd, unless I get a really good deal on 176 scale stuff, in which case I will get it. Or get a conversion kit for the S model from a company called can't remember what it is. It's a British company, and and now you're talking about like $40 for one. So there's a company that sells stuff on eBay from China. I mean, I'm just going to give in. I'm just going to eventually, there's no. I'll have to think is the people that work at that company maybe are decent individuals and they're just under the red thumb. But anyhow, so I've got this kit coming and it's 3D printed and hopefully it'll look okay. I ordered one of them. It was like $15 for one, and if it works, then I will order more. But I need about 6 of them for the scenario. And they also make A10s, which is, not the plain version, but the cruiser tank version. as opposed to the A9. So, because Plastic Soldier Company makes the A9, but they don't make an A10. And I don't remember what the difference between them is. They're kissing cousins of each other. I think one of them is faster than the other one, and the other one's more heavily armored. I think the A9 might have the two turrets in the front, kind of like the Crusader 1 did, and the A10 just has a flat plate. I'm guessing. I don't remember. I'm sure I will when I get it. But if their stuff is good, then I'll probably get more of their stuff because that's going to get my foot into the door, opening the desert. When I do the desert, I'm starting with the Brits. The Africa Corps they can wait. You know, it's nothing. I don't get excited about the Africa Corps stuff, especially because I plan on doing early stuff, and I'm going to paint mine gray and just dry brush the shit out of it. Like it's dusty. I don't like Africa Corps vehicles already painted brown. I'm not a fan of that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have any. That's not what I want to start with. So, SS model. Yeah, we'll see how SS model goes. 100 pandas go into each gram of the Liquitex. Well, let's just hope they're communist pandas, and then it's okay. You can melt down all the communist pandas you want. Or Nazi pandas. Nazi pandas can go in them as well. I bet there's a picture of a Nazi panda out there somewhere. Totalitarian pandas. They can just toss off. Okay, and the last one is They're gonna start in 3-0. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this number right here. We're gonna drop the S. I don't know what the hell the S means. I don't care. Not all of them have an S at the end, so I'm not gonna figure it out. I'm making a made up number anyways. Yeah, we'll see how the SS model thing works. So speaking of SS model and speaking of you, Kevin, I was looking through their stuff, and they make because when I think of you, I think of jokes that we don't get the punchline for another week. And I also think of World of Tanks. And I started playing World of Tanks again. Well, I stopped now for 2 weeks, but about a month ago. And, I always played it a little bit. And they have a model of a tank that's in World of Tanks. It's a light tank. I don't remember what it is. I'm going to call it a T-37, but it might not be a T-37. And I always think it'd be cool to build one of those things. It's kind of futuristic looking. So we'll see. I hope the stuff, the S model stuff that's also Chinese, is freaking superb. It's like, the thing that makes Plastic Soldier Company so good is they go together really well. The plastic is of a material that is very hardy. They have good detail, and they're a good value. The S model are a good value, and they have tons of decals generally for multiple vehicles. They're more realistic. In other words, their barrels aren't as hardy, but sometimes you get freaking brass barrels that come with stuff. So I got no problems with S model. So hopefully SS model is a similar quality and just 3D printed. I don't know. We'll see. That's why I only ordered one. I was going to get one and an A10. I'm like, let's just do one. It's supposed to get here I'll tell you right now when it's going to get here. I think at the end of January, supposedly. Let's see. I ordered it through eBay. I mean, as long as I order it through Amazon or eBay, I'm comfortable. I don't want to order through, God forbid, Temu or whatever, all those other things where I don't want to give those guys directly. I need somebody in between me and This is the other thing I was going to get. And I'm probably going to get these at some point. Is this company called Excise Miniatures. Well, this is 28 millimeter. They also make it for 20s. But they have these 3D printed, this is an L6 Italian tank. And, they come with two turrets, one open and one closed. So I'm looking forward to doing those at some point as well. Yeah, here it is, S model. Oh, they dropped in price. An A20, an A10 is 1709 each plus $5 shipping. And I think if you order multiple of them, it's like only additional dollar for each one. Well, let's make sure they're not a piece of crap. My only concern really is the barrel. I'm pretty detail oriented, so I also like the fact that all the suspension's all together. So it might not be as cheap as it could possibly be, but it's going to be able to save me some time. So yeah, look, the front of the mantlet has the gun already attached to it, and it's got good detail if it ends up looking like this. So I'm precise and careful enough that I should be able to put that together. So we'll see, and then we'll open up the box of the Eighth Army with all their pendants and. Yes, we're going to use the right counter scheme. Don't worry, there's not going to be any light freaking blue on it. Even though it looks cool, it's incorrect. There's all kinds of information now that we didn't have access to many years ago. Wise move when trying a new product. I like to do a touch and feel. Yeah, just see how it goes. I would, I think it would be really handy to have a site that's like, let's say you had an eBay or an Amazon. Let's take both of them together. Let's see if you lump them all together. And there's, you have search parameters. I want to search for things that come from this country or that don't come from these countries or that don't come from, even more useful, certain vendors. Like let's say there's a vendor, when I was doing 15 millimeter miniatures, there's a particular vendor that is prolific in their listings. And everything they list is, in my opinion, garbage. And they even have all their spears like intermingled. Okay, like I get that your stuff is messed up, but you're trying to sell something. At least straighten the freaking spears out. Oh no, it's like a spaghetti western without the western. It's just a disaster. It's like, okay, I don't want to see the listings of this person because they just pollute all the listings with stuff I'm not interested in. And to my limited knowledge, there's not a way to do that. It'd be great to, have a website. I don't want to get anything from China. I don't want to get anything from Red China. Like, take everything off site so I'm not looking at those things. But it's exhausting. It's exhausting to see where everything comes from. So I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to buy something from China, maybe there's some good people there that I'm giving them some work. I don't know. I wish there was another way to do it, but a wise move only because I've been bent before. We all have. Hopefully, we'll learn from our own mistakes. We don't keep making the same ones, but we'll see. We'll do a full report on that SS model and see how it is. But they do make some unique stuff, and they do make that roll of tanks tank, which is really cute. Yeah, this is the one that I ordered. So if it's good, then I'm going to order another 5 because I need 6 for a scenario. I don't know if I'll ever play the scenario, but like I said, I'm going to build things with the intention of playing them in scenarios. But they make an M3A3 Stewart. Why? Why would I bother getting this when I can just get the one from S model and you get 2 in the kit and with decals? So, anyhow, we will give you guys a full report on that, and I hope it turns out okay, And if it's not, it's like I'm willing to risk $20 on it. That was that's how I gamble. I'll order stuff from see sellers other items. I really haven't had I haven't had a bad experience. A T6 medium tank. What is the name of that little light tank? This cute thing. It's a T71. Here's one that's already built. Look at this futuristic little bastard. They make some unique stuff. They make a bishop. 3D printing product precautions. How are people going to survive in the workplace? Yeah, they make some unique. They make some unique stuff. I think they make a BT7 too. The problem with the BT7 is the lids. Almost said the lids. The the covers are closed, unfortunately. Type 97 Jap. I'm gonna do this thing. Yeah, this thing. Look at this cool thing. That thing is really cool. I might get one of them just to build it. Just to paint it, really. Most of it is painting. I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to use the melty plastic glue for it. So we'll see how it goes. We'll give you guys a full report. We'll do a video on it. S. Men's the engine was modified to reduce radio interference. Wow. Yeah. I actually encountered somebody who didn't like North Africa. It's just about everybody likes North Africa. There's some things that are really common to everybody. You know, almost everybody likes. There's some things like almost everybody likes a Spitfire. I encountered one guy. I think he was just being a dickhead. He was on a Facebook group and he's like, I don't like the Spitfire. Well, you're the only one. Even people that got shot down by a Spitfire like the Spitfire. Okay. 3D is going to improve, maybe? I can't see it. It's under that heart. These types of models, yeah. Well, we got to buy them if you want them to keep making them some. So, I'm really enjoying building the shit. I'm really enjoying the shit out of this World War II stuff. Back to my World War II roots. See, I told you guys I'm a World War II guy. I was just stuck in the ancients and medievals for 20 years. 30 years? No, not 30. I may go back to ancients and medievals at some point in the future, but it won't be with DBA. It'll be with something that I'm probably going to have to make that has more detail. And it might be DBA-ish, but it's going to be less vague. It's going to be better explained. But I'm not right now. I'm enjoying this for the therapy aspect. We're going to end this one with a 9. What's the 669? Let's try that. Which is the letter we're going to change, the number we're going to change. The 7. Let's turn it into a 1. I don't feel like doing a 3. I'll make that one a 1 as well. And then a 2. And then, of course, the obligatory 0 and the 3. let's beef these in. You know, the actual painting of the numbers is the easy part. It's the getting the tip to behave or not deform as you're painting it, and to get the right amount of mixture of paint. Do I have an opponent for my World War II stuff? Well, I got Germans galore. I got Germans, Soviets, and Americans. And I got German, Soviets, and American infantry, but I got to redo the infantry. I just look. I did figures for 20 years. I'm ready to do some vehicles and unclench a little bit. You know. What's the size of table you use these models when you're gaming? So I'm thinking it's going to have to be at least a 4x8. It depends on the scenario. Some of the scenarios require small ones, but I'm fortunate enough that on the other side of this wall. See, can I get away with this? Let me put my glasses so I can find myself. On the other side of the wall here is a pocket door. This was a room that was actually done as a pantry, which actually, this room's awesome. Okay. The only bad thing is we have some sound that likes to seep in here from that pocket door. But on the other side of that pocket door is the kitchen, and it's all one big room. It's all like living room and all the kitchen built in there. There's an island that is 42 inches wide by 90 inches deep. So I'm either going to play on that, or which, you know, it's marble, so, you know, freaking stand on it for that matter, or put 2 pieces of plywood over it to make it a full 4x8. But I think that should. I meant some one to play with. Oh well, I mean, when I get my act together and start playing these rules, I'm sure one of the guys will come over here. I'll solo this stuff for all I care. It doesn't really matter, you know. Right now, I'm just build. This is just the game is to motivate me to build more models. So if I'm already building more models alone without the game, then, you know, I just don't feel like getting up and spending 4 hours trying to work through the rules. I probably will, and I'm probably going to do it live, because if I don't do it live, I'm not going to find myself a way to do it. I'm just going to be like, I'd rather do something else. So some form of talking to myself so that I stay on track is what's going to work for me. And having another person to kind of like, you know, go through like, but you meant this, did you mean that? Oh yeah, well that's not what I meant, kind of thing. But I've played the rules before. I've just never played with the vehicles before. I've looked at the vehicle rules, and they're about as detailed as I would want them to be. So I'm happy with that. You know, it's not one of these like Flames of War, like it's a long-barreled Panzer III. Well, which one is it? Is it a J? Is it a L? Is it an M? Oh, it's just a long-barreled Panzer III. No, that doesn't work for me. I'm not building shit for that kind of a game, you know? I'm not going to build things again for, what are you painting? Knights. Well, which ones? They're just knights. Oh, they're all the same? Yeah, F you. I'm not doing that, you know? My efforts aren't worth that. So, at that point, I'll just buy a bunch of knights and just spray paint them silver. Oh, wait a second, they're already come in that color, so we'll just leave them as is. No. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm familiar with the infantry rules. They play really well. They play really slow, but that's what the intent of the game is to have that kind of. You don't have to create a narrative. The narrative is spelled out for you. So that would be my reason to play the game, is to have it's like to read a cool story about what happens. I don't even necessarily have to be one of the players. I'm fine just running the game. As a matter of fact, I think that's how I would do it, is I'm going to run one side. I'll be the NPC guy, and everybody else can, you know, run their, you know, three or four guys. But I got to know what the hell I'm doing it before I introduce it to anybody else so that it runs smooth, or otherwise nobody's going to want to play this game that I don't really know how to play well. But that's not really what my focus is right now. You know, the problem I'm having is work is really challenging for me. So I'm not really interested in challenging myself a lot in other ways in my hobby that aren't, relaxing. I would call this relaxing. I would not call learning a new set of rules and explaining it to other people relaxing. The other problem I have is I work in an environment where I have to explain shit to a lot of people multiple times and they don't listen. So maybe I'm not the best teacher because I'm like burned out on that shit, you know? 669. And we just need to build those up with more paint on there, but you feel for the Israeli combat engineers, they go first down through tunnels looking for traps. I don't think that the rules aren't simple. I think that they're not abstract. So I have no interest in playing abstract rules again. They're percentile, which is what I'm used to playing, and you just take one action at a time. Like, okay, it's so and so's action. What's he going to do? Is he going to shoot? Is he going to move? If he moves, it's real simple. This is how far you can move. And if you shoot, this is what you do against that one other target, and then you move on to the next thing. It's just one small step at a time, not 50 things, not opportunity fire, not interruptions. Like, this is what we're going to do. All focus on this guy. So the rules work a lot like if you're talking about like a play and there's a spotlight and you're only worried about what's on the spotlight. That's it. This is so-and-so's action. It's real easy to understand what your actions are because it's real like, is throwing a grenade an action? Well, do you think it sounds like an action? Yes, it does. Reloading a round, trying to clear a jam, shooting, moving, that kind of stuff. It all makes sense, So I need to make sure that I know the rules really well, and then people can just do what they're doing. They don't have to worry about the rest of the stuff, So, but like I said, that's theoretically how it works. If I get around to it, I get around to it. If I don't, I don't. I can't have these pressures of, I got to have this done by this convention. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pack all this stuff and go somewhere else. People will either play here or I won't play it at all because it needs to be, I'm doing most of the heavy lifting, so it needs to be it needs to be easy for me. I'll be right back. Let me go grab a soda. You need to keep the game flowing more than keep it simple. You keep the game too simple, and I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm just not interested in playing, you know, games that have really simple armor shit. Do you have paint serial numbers on the rear? No, I'm not going there. That's at some point. At some point, I gotta say, no. I need to finish other vehicles. Hell, none of my Shermans even have the serial numbers. So now I'm thinking I'm gonna go back and do them, but it's no problem to go back and do things and make them look cool. I've got some bits and bobs that I'm going to add to these things, just like I added these onto the back of these Shermans. These are actually pre-built models. I want to say by a company called Altaya, although I didn't know what they were. I had to actually look it up, and these are already pre-built. So I added something on there to give them a little bit of personality. But I do like doing the Americans and the Soviets because people think of them as boring. And, they're boring because you make them boring. The German things just paint themselves. But this other stuff, you can make them look really cool. You just have to put some effort into it, Let me fill in these numbers a little bit more so they stand out better. Maybe fill in the Barney. And then we can move on to whatever's next, which I don't really know because we're winging everything. Use the old Panzer something rules, turbine moderns, the simple common realistic feel and look. Yeah, we used command decision for a long time, and that's not bad, but the infantry rules suck. They just don't inspire you to want to play infantry. And I think everything's important. That's what makes World War II really cool, is the combined arms. If you water down one of the combined arms, and it's like, I've done those one to 5 scale games. I don't want to do them anymore. That doesn't paint a narrative that I'm interested in exploring. I'm interested in the, hey, this hatch is open, throw a grenade to try to get it in the hatch. Oh, you got it in there. All right, what does it do? Who gets hit with frag? That kind of stuff. And it's all like logical stuff. If you know anything about the combat. Now let me look at the inside of I think the hatch of this M5A1 needs to be white. Some of these hatches, sometimes the inside of the hatch that flips open on certain vehicles is not painted the interior color, because when it's open, then it's an eyesore for aircraft. They come in and get, and you lose any kind of camouflage aspect you might have. A 1/6 scale tank. This person actually left it, and I'm liable to leave it that way. It's not, doesn't make sense for me for it to be open like gleam super white. I don't think I'm actually going to paint it. Man, this house is cold. What a blessing. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave the hatches. It's OD. The hatch is basically OD, but when you're inside the hatch and it's closed, everything else is white. you know, or off white, or I forget what color the American inside of the American tanks are. It doesn't matter. None of it will be showing. This isn't a 1/35th scale model. Okay, so we need to do the tools, but I want to do the tools after the weathering, because otherwise it looks weird. Let me check on the tracks. I think this might have the rubber tracks that we'll need to paint them a different color. I think they do. They have the center part that's rubber, which I could leave them the same way or come in and paint them black because we're going to dry brush them. I have a feeling, and I don't do things charcoal because by the time well, here's a different set of tracks, but here's a good example. You've got the pins that are, there we go, that are rusty, but the actual blocks are black. So I'm going to do, let's punt and do one vehicle. Okay, we're going to finish one vehicle all the way through. One of these Stewarts all the way through. It's going to be Barney. Okay. Barney's not the one with the hatch, right? It's this one. Okay. And let's finish it all the way through. Let's go ahead and paint these blocks as if they're rubber. And by the time you dry brush over this black, it ends up looking that charcoal color. I don't want to start painting charcoal the next time, you know, after you're done dry brushing it, it ends up looking like it's light gray, and it's just not the look that I want to achieve for it. So I tend to use black for rubber things because I know that it's going to be weathered just like the real one by the time I'm done. How's that delivery? It should get here in 3 minutes. I got parts coming for my car. We went and did car shopping yesterday. Our leases were getting ready to come up, and my wife's car was going. She got a glitchy car. I have a feeling the cars that were built during COVID, the people that were putting the cars together were like fourth tier operators. And she just had some electrical issues. Nothing major, but things that make you lose confidence in them. So we went down to, got her a new car, which we had to do anyways. At some point, we just did it a couple of months early while we had the time to do it. And we shopped around first and closed the deal. And I bought mine. So instead of continuing to lease mine. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to buy mine, we're going to start modifying the hell out of this thing. Nothing crazy, nothing engine related, but. So the first thing I got is, let's get a new horn for this thing. When's this thing? Let's see. I should be able to go down here and go here and go here and go. And I don't care that it doesn't even get here today. I'm just, being processed. I don't know how the hell it's going to get here in 3 minutes, but that's fine. I'm happy when it gets here anytime today. That way I can work on it today while I got plenty of time and daylight for that matter. So I don't do anything major, but it is empowering working on your own vehicle to do things to it, especially when there's YouTube videos for it. So I'd do more if I had a lift or had access to a lift. But now is the wrong time to buy cars, just like now is the wrong time to buy a house. But sometimes you got to do it because, you need one. But that's what we spent all day. That's why we didn't have a morning show yesterday. We had to be in Orlando at 8 o'clock in the morning. But at least it only took one day to resolve. It wasn't an unpleasant experience. And, it's not like it's the first time we've ever had to do that. So. But people weren't pushy. Hey, you gotta tell them, hey, I'm a don't fuck with me guy. I know exactly what I want. So don't suggest me shit I don't want. They didn't. Perfect. That's it. Some people don't listen. I get a lot of calls at work from people that are, just call out of the blue wanting me to use their services. And I'm like, they don't take no for an answer. So what I started doing is I just screen all my calls. And as soon as it's something that I'm not interested in, I don't even call them back or anything. Why waste anybody's time? Because you end up actually talking to the people, and next thing you know, you just can't take no for an answer. And I'm like, it's just better to ignore people. Sorry. I actually had many years ago, somebody actually came into our office and they were selling like steaks or something like that, right? So this lady came in the office, some steak seller, and we're in a construction business. So like, what are you even fucking doing here, right? So she comes into the office and I said, she's hounding on these people. I said, the sign says there's no soliciting. And she turned around without missing a step and she said, they put those signs up because people don't know how to say no. And I turned around without missing a step and said, no. I don't want your stuff. And for starters, I don't fucking cook. I think I was single at the time. Like, I don't, when the hell am I going to cook a steak? I got to eat stuff that's easy to eat because I need to spend all my time doing this. I'm going to do one of these and see if it's even worth doing it. Like, I gave up doing the rubber painted wheels because I do that. And then by the time I'm dry brushing, I'm like, I can't even tell that I did it, Apparently, white interior is good for desert. Helps keep it cool and it helps in low light. That's what it's for, is what I understand. Is it helps in low light because you're in a confined place. But if the top of your hatch is that same color and the rest of your vehicle is any color other than that, it's like a spotting hazard for like aircraft. It's probably not worth the effort, but we'll try it on one. It's not like it's in some unpleasant thing that I'm doing. It's for a good cause. And I'm not one of those that likes to paint and then sub-assemble things because then you got to scrape off the paint where it is and then glue it. I'm just, let's just build it all together. I can reach anything that I need to. Okay. Now we just got to wait for that booger to dry. Okay. Well, the thing that really surprised me is nobody's complained about one camera. So maybe I was just killing myself for no good reason. It certainly makes my life a lot easier having only one camera. And I can surf a lot better and show you guys stuff instead of fumbling around how to use this this free program, whatever it's called. I'm not a computer guy. It doesn't mean I'm computer illiterate. It's just some things, they complicate things. It's too difficult. Like, you wouldn't be surprised how difficult it is to connect a phone to use as a camera to your computer. You're like, oh, it's simple. Nope. You got to go all like end around and do all this other kind of stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, smartphone, my ass. So it doesn't make very good smart camera. You got to do all that. You have to come up with all these excuses just to get it to work, you know? But maybe that's stuff that's not really apparent unless you try to do it yourself. You're like, man, this is really difficult for something that shouldn't be that difficult to do. I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside of this hatch while I'm thinking about it and waiting for that other paint to dry, because I'd like to finish one of those guys completely. I did put the olive drab back, and I believe it's this one, and there it is. This rack is actually pretty handy, even though I probably wouldn't buy another one. It was a royal pain in the ass to put together. And with my putting together experience, if I feel like if I tell you something, this is a pain to put together, it is, because I've put things together and I've got a fair amount of patience. But it took way too long to assemble that. All right, I'm going to paint this OD. Just like I said, I really do like doing the Soviet vehicles and the American vehicles. I mean, obviously I like doing the German vehicles, but so does everybody else. It's time to give these guys some time in the sun. And I'm not one of those American-centric things, pretty people. It's like, oh, I'm only going to war game if there's Americans on there. I said, no, I like using everybody's stuff, but don't assume that America's stuff is boring looking. It is if you let it be. If you don't give it that kind of, attention, yeah, it's going to be boring. Give it some respect and it'll give you some respect back. No, that's close, but no cigar. Even though I don't have glasses, I should be able to find it because I'm not colorblind. Everything's just fuzzy. I would have put it there. Yep. I can still see the colors. They just all run together. Have you seen the 1942 stars the U.S. put on the tanks? You talking about the yellow ones, or did they put the ones with a little red circle in the middle, which I love? U.S. should have stuck with that. I think they look fabulous. I think it looks fabulous. The Navy planes had that. I don't know when the Army switched over. But the Navy planes had that until Coral Sea. I think Coral Sea was the last Battle of Coral Sea in May of '42 was the last time they had those. And then they just went for the solid star. I like the little circle in the middle in red. It looks cute. I don't know. It just looks better. I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan. Every time I wear that yellow hat that I have with that American Star. I always get comments on it. I don't get a lot of comments. I've never gotten a comment on any hat other than that one, really. And here we go. Let's brighten some of this stuff up. And one guy in Canada was like, who's an American, he's like, you do know what that hat means? I'm like, yeah, that's why I got it. I'm like, and we started talking about, he had a grandfather, I think a father or grandfather. He was an older, he was older than me. He wasn't, I wouldn't say he was an old guy, but he was older than me. And we talked about World War II. I'm a World War II aficionado. That's why I didn't do. I freaking slacked. Doing multiple vehicles at once, you end up cutting corners you have no intention of doing just by getting sidetracked and other stuff. And I never did the little scratches and shit that I normally do on here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But we got this hatch where we need it. I think so. We're going to go back with this mix and go back to Barney. Let's touch up some of the stuff that we want to definitely pop out at the viewer when they're looking at this cute vehicle. In my opinion, best light tank of World War II. Easy one. One camera, still see everything. Excellent. Well, I'm glad I didn't disappoint you guys. I don't want to give you guys a shit show, That's not the intent. And it saves a big headache. Like I said, it's a headache just trying to get the things to communicate with each other. As I like to say, technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, you wish it was never invented because it just causes frustration. Technology should make our life easier, not create more problems. And good morning to you, Jeffrey. Or afternoon. Was the Chafee light tank? Yes. Other than that one, that showed up too late. Like I mentioned earlier in the feed, except for the Chafee, it's got a 75 millimeter gun. That's almost cheating. Call that a light tank. Yeah, that one would be better, but especially because I think that would be the only light tank that has a 3-man turret. I'll have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure that's the only light tank that has a 3. And I'm not calling it cruiser. This isn't World of Tanks where they consider a Crusader a light tank. The Crusader is not a light tank. It's a main battle tank for when it came out. Light tank is like a Mark 6. All those kind of things, but I think the Chafee's the only one. But the Chafee didn't show up in any numbers until like after Bulge. But not counting that thing, that a significant amount of combat use. The Stewart, man. And it's a good looking tank. Not that the Chafee's a bad looking tank by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good looking tank too. But I bet the Chafee is the only one that has a 3-man turret. And I think that's a huge combat advantage. not if you have a gun that loads, 1 round a week. Okay. But as a general rule, the American tanks, to some extent the British tanks, many of the British tanks, and the German tanks had the best crew working conditions to make them efficient, to make them, I wouldn't say crew comfort. How about crew less uncomfortable? I think being anywhere in a vehicle would be extremely uncomfortable. Also, you're a sitting duck for anything. You're attracting a lot of attention. Everybody knows you're out there. Yeah, let's do the same thing on the whole. Actually, this part that I'm doing right now, I actually really enjoy doing. I don't know how, I just got distracted doing so many vehicles at once, but I really do like forcing the eye, making you look at the things that I want you to look at, that I think that are important, by highlighting them. Painting these edges, which, when you dry brush over them, they may pop out anyways. Want to make sure the angles where the hull, if it does an angle, let's make that stand out. That's was really important, like on the Panzer II turrets. Because the Panzer II turrets have this, you like, if you don't do that kind of stuff, they have these little, and a lot of the other Panzers as well, they have these little angles at the top. Like the top isn't flat. It's, it has this angle and then it goes to another one and may even drop to another one. And make all those little things stand out to show some interest. Make sure these things stand out even if the dry brush doesn't get to them where you want to. Early Stuarts. Yeah, I don't know how useful that is, because it's a 4-man turret gun, right? It's this 4-man tank, right? You got 2 guys in the turret. I don't remember whether the commander is the gunner or the loader. I will say doesn't really matter at this point. But you got 2 people in the turret, you got a driver, and you got the assistant machine gunner. And then you have these sponsons over here that were square. So you'd have a machine gun there and you have a machine gun there. So sometimes they had an AA machine gun, a coax, 2 in the, I call them sponsons, not really sponsons. They're really in the front of the hull. So 2 more there, plus the whole machine gun. That's 5 machine guns, right? Did I do my math right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 machine guns for a 4-man crew. And the driver's never firing one of them, right? And the commander's only going to fire the coax if he's, in the, so it's like, there's a lot of machine guns unused, which, I guess it's handy because you could replace it with another one. They're all 30 cal, air cooled, M19, M19 19A1s. I think that's what they all are. Every time I think of that machine gun, I think of that scene, and because I grew up watching it, as unrealistic of a movie as it is, the Battle of the Bulge when Telly Savalas is in the he's in the tank at the crossroads, and he's got his buddy that's either mortally wounded or injured. I forget which one it is. I don't remember if he's dead or not. He's in the turret of that Chafee, and he's just like, fuck it, I'll kill all the Germans here. And he's got that 30 cal. He's going to stop King Tigers with a 30 cal machine gun. Well, it's the thought that counts, you know. If you don't want to stand and fight, you're not going to be able to stand and fight. So it is a thought that counts. Okay, I gotta be right back. I gotta take a bathroom break, and I will be back in a few. No wonder it's cold in the house. It's 62. And there's like an air circulation. I forget what the hell it is. There's something in this house. Has like it circulates the air. It's like a fan without the fan. And man, it's cold as shit in here. Yay! That's how you get stuff done. I'm not working in no garage. All right, so we're doing some scratches and things of interest. Things of interest. So the tracks are done. What a cute little vehicle. I don't mean that disrespectful from the sense of this isn't a badass and isn't going to mow people down. It's just it's cute. So somebody asked me the other day, am I going to get more Stewarts? I'm definitely getting some honeys. There's no doubt about it. Honestly, probably 2 packs of them. 6 honeys running around. That one scenario, I remember from Advanced Squad Leader, I believe it's called Blazing Chariots, I believe is what the name of that scenario is. There's 12 honeys on that one. I think that was a scenario off of but this is good practice for these serial numbers. So I'm not scared of having to come up with serial numbers for all these British tanks that they don't necessarily have because the problem with the decals is twofold. You can spend like $15 on a tank, and the next thing you know, or a pack of tanks, or 20 or whatever, and the next thing you know, you got to order decals from all kinds of different places, and it's not necessarily the price of the decal, it's the shipping from them, and you can spend a fortune on it, and then you're stuck with whatever numbers they give you. But if you paint your own, you have pretty much freedom to do whatever the hell you want. As long as you can handle that kind of stuff. So what I need to try to do is do a wreck one time. Just do a tank wreck. Because one of the things that is a blessing that Plastic Soldier Company does, but it also kind of a bad thing is they give you lots of extra parts. And I just feel bad having these extra things that I don't do anything with. So it would be really cool to with these extra, I think one guy on YouTube made a video on how you can take the Plastic Soldier Company German truck set. You can only make 3 of the trucks, but they give you stuff for 6 different vehicles. And I think he made 8 vehicles or something like that out of the set just by making fake bodies. But even with these Stewarts, even with the M5A1s, let me see if I can get a sprue on it. I'm out here. There's an extra set of running gear and an extra turret. You just don't have the hole that goes in between them. So if somehow you can kit bash that, or buy one and mold it out of that stuff. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a waste to have these pieces that you can't use for something, especially when it's a beautiful mold. So anyways, it'd be nice to try. That'd be a good experiment to try doing a wreck with. Correct, because wrecks are handy. You might have, your squad or a couple squads that need to go out and recover something from a wreck. That's the kind of missions that I envision doing in the kind of gaming I plan on doing. You need to go to this house and free a pilot or something like that. So it works really well for resistance fighters, commandos, that kind of stuff. Regular squad type things as well. It's not overwhelming to run a lot of figures, but it just takes a long time to get through a turn. Which, if you have an agenda, you need to get this game finished by a certain time, well, maybe this isn't the rule set for you. But I don't really have that. That's not really a problem for me. We get done when we get done. That's why I just don't see doing this kind of stuff at a convention when you're stuck having to have it wrapped up and you have to set it up and you're stuck having to let some people play that are assholes. You know, there's some people I don't want them to play my game. You know, you know how you do that? You don't invite them to your house. Problem solved. I actually played a game one time that somebody ran at a show and I was trying to get a friend of mine to play. For the longest time to play this set of rules. And I got him to play. He showed up at con to play the game, and there was somebody on his side. It was on his side. He wasn't even fighting against him. That just ruined the game for him. And never wanted to play again. And this is a guy that's a nice guy. I mean, the friend, my friend. Which I guess reality is he probably should have given another shot, not with this asshole, but I feel like I just lost his chance, but of him trying him. I don't know if he would have liked the game to begin with, but he didn't want to play it again because of the experience he had with this guy. But this is a guy who's always that way in every game. And he won't do it again. He was suffering from some kind of disease that eventually, I don't know if it took his life or something else died, but he ended up dying. And I'm like, you're an asshole all the time, you know? To everybody. Maybe to your family, you were okay, but to game with, you're an asshole. I'd like to think that's not me. Thank you. I'd like to think that I'm an asshole to everybody I work with, but not the people that I game with. This is the thing I enjoy doing more than anything else. Why would I be a butthole during it, you know? That's why I don't understand people that aren't enjoying themselves when they're doing their hobby. You choose to do your hobby and it brings you zero money. You don't have to do it. It should be a pleasurable experience. If it's not a pleasurable experience, you need to find a different hobby. There's a whole bunch of hobbies. There's no reason why you need to ruin everybody's hobby just for yourself, because you're a certain way. So just for the record, this room does not have a ceiling fan in it. It is considerably cooler than the other room and the other house. And that's a good thing because I no longer live there. So there's no point in missing that. I no longer live there and we're not going back. Okay, I think Mr. Barney is ready for some dry brushingness. So, and I got its base for it. The base is done. Just gonna get one of these. I think when it's all said and done, I'm gonna be really happy with it. And I didn't get that package at 8 or a notification, which is fine. It wasn't like it was life-threatening. Hey, I didn't need to have it today. They just said they were going to have it by this time. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Liar. Good thing it wasn't something life-threatening. Now, the only thing I'm going to say about this method that I use that's not realistic is that when you dry brush like this, the parts that stand out, that if you're doing like wheels or if you're doing tracks, especially wheels, wheels have, unless they're slicks, they're going to have indentations. And any dirt is going to be more than likely stuck inside the indentation, not on the part that sticks out. But when you dry brush, you're doing the opposite. However, it works for contrast at a distance. So it doesn't look wrong to me. However, when people are doing whitewashing on vehicles, I've seen several articles that are like, okay, well, if you're going to do a whitewash, say like a Soviet tank, paint the whole thing white, and then come in and dry brush the green. And I'm like, yeah, but you're doing it backwards. I don't know that I can do that, but I'm okay with the dry brushing effects being backwards for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I've just done it enough times, but I do fully understand that I'm doing it backwards, but it works for me. And the problem is if you do it the correct way, it looks realistic, but it also numbs down the whole look of the vehicle. In other words, where it looks at a distance, you can't, 3 feet away, you're not going to be able to see all the details to it. It's all just kind of blend together. Yes, it is more realistic, but that's not the look I'm going for. So, it's this fine balance between both things. What looks good and what's realistic. And we're going to go over some of these numbers a little bit. Not going to go crazy. You want to make sure this still looks like a green vehicle. And we have one more layer of dry brush on there. We have a lighter one, so we don't want to go the whole hog on this one. We need to leave space for the lighter color to express itself. Now, when I'm doing the Africa core, forget that I said that, okay? Because it's going to be hard to tell that it was gray underneath. But that's the look I want for them. It's just a personal preference. Just like Monet wanted, his paintings to look blurry. That's just what he wanted to do. What a cute vehicle. Tone down that star a little bit. Okay, we're going to roll right into Iraqi sand. These are the same two colors that are in here. So when we put it on the base, it'll look like it's tied into the base. And what I really like about this method, I find it really easy to reproduce the same effects over and over again. So I don't want a whole bunch of vehicles that look like they were painted supposedly by a bunch of different people. I didn't dry brush the freaking turret. Somebody really needs to keep an eye on me. Not that there's that much dry brush on it. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's damn it, man. Let's just go real. I think painting the rubber thing is noticeable enough. Let me just do some of this. I don't think that heavy dirt would work its way all the way up here. And of course we'll have to put the antennas down. So it makes it look like it's worn. I'm gonna have to take some close-up pictures of this because some of it actually looks really good. With that wash in there and the different shades, there's just enough different levels of the color that it adds a lot of interest. I think this is ready to go as far as that goes. Let's rinse this thing out. We're gonna have to seal this. Let's get the iron breaker out here. It is the one I used, isn't it? Yeah. What's the other one? No, this one's bluish. Nope. I don't have it laying out here, do I? Well, it's gotta be that one. The other one's down here. What's this one? Is this lead belcher? Lead belcher. Let's use lead belcher. Lead belcher's a little darker. That might be why I wasn't 100% on the armored cars. I used the other one. Just make it look like gunmetal. I've seen other people try to do gunmetal things in grays. It looks great. I'm honestly scared. That's just I'm fine with it like this. So we're going to take this brush. And kind of dry brush it. Go back to this because I didn't follow the correct order. No big deal. It just adds more steps. This one's still alive, I bet. I gotta be careful with that Iraqi sand that's right there, alive. Normally do this on another sheet, but I don't get super anal retentive on when things aren't a certain way. Okay, this is the hatchet. Okay, this is a wrench. And like, I don't like the tools weathered. I like the tools to stand out. What is that? Let's go to scale mates. No, let's just go to Tamiya M5A1 rear. I just don't know what that one tool is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and paint it last. The old mallet. Every tank needs a mallet to beat on stuff when it doesn't listen. Track pins, no doubt. What else we got back here? Got this rod. I don't know what the hell that thing is. I'm going to leave it alone and not paint it. We'll leave it all a drab. And let's grab our wooden color. Something like this. Beige brown, perfect. Okay, so that's good in that department. Let's go the whole hog. Let's go ahead and put an antenna on this little guy. Okay, it's not that much taller. It's going to be about the height of the turret and then a little bit more. So let's see if we've got any remnants. I probably do. Yeah, here they are. Where's my... Am I going to be able to find that? Did I move it where the heavy-duty tools are? I may have. I may have done that. Let's see if this thing will do it. This is not my good clipper. I really don't have much of a use for this thing. So I don't mind violating it, so to speak. Perfect. Well, now we know why we keep it around here. And we still have a remnant. Yeah, it's about right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the other ones while I'm at it. One of these had like a little bend in it. I don't mind using that one because these are some pretty short antennas. I'm really not using that set of nips for anything. All right, let's get a file. Because this will go into your finger. I'm going to do the other side just to be safe. And I'm going to do something I shouldn't do, which is actually use a super glue. Only because I just don't have any confidence in it. But I don't want to really mix in the smallest amount of yeah, I'm going to do it. I'll mix the smallest amount of epoxy. I guess I could put the antennas on the other ones, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do one at a time. That's how I work the best anyways. Let's see if I can pull this off. I'm gonna put a little drop there. There's just no point in fooling myself trying to glue the other ones down, and it's going to come off in the process of painting the details on it. And there's probably more efficient ways to do that, like maybe only don't install this until I actually glue the vehicle down. But I do want to paint the antenna black. And that's just what I like to do. And I'd like to go ahead and get that done before I seal it, so that we can seal the antenna as well. There we go. I wonder how the Chafies did against Korean T-34-85s. Well, it's the same gun that's on the Sherman. I'm going to take a guess and say that all the Shermans that were in Korea, most of the Shermans that were in Korea were EZ-8s, M4A3, E8s. And I'm going to guess that they all probably had a 76mm gun in them. I'm just guessing. The Chafies had the old Sherman gun, which is a 75mm. I don't know that it got upgraded by Korean standards, but can the Sherman's gun go through the front of the T-34-85? Yeah, probably. Not reliably. Reasonably straight. It just adds, another little bit of interest. And as much as I like using sprue, it's just not very reliable. Sprue isn't very reliable. I remember using sprue in the early 90s, and we make all our antennas with that. And I swear, I try doing it now with the plastic that's around these days, and the plastic's different. It just doesn't work well for sprue. Okay, so short of painting this antenna, this guy's ready to go get sealed. And it'll look better when it's sealed. I don't know what magic happens, but there's definitely magic involved. So that's where we're going to stop for this morning. And and it looks equivalent to the Sherman. It's just so much smaller than a Sherman. But actually, this is the older olive drab color first. Let's compare it to the Sherman that's in the same color. There we go. There's a lot of detail on these plastics. Thank you. Of these plastic Soldier Company tanks, for sure. So, well, thanks for stopping by, folks, this morning, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Happy Sunday.